Today we're going to be covering suicide rates across the world. The way it stands right now is that across the world, suicide rates are becoming higher and higher by the year's number. We can blame lots of issues. We can blame social injustice. We can blame work habits. We can blame drinking habits. There's a lot of items at play here. Alcohol is a natural depressant. Now, do you have to be depressed to commit suicide? Not always. You can feel cornered. A lot of animals tend to have heart attacks when they're in corners. If you ever look at some of the animals like possums, they'll try to play dead. But some of them have heart attacks and they end up dying. So, where we're going with this is we're going to try to pin down in humans where suicide comes from and how it originates. I think one of the two biggest factors include social wellness and psychological wellness. Now, social wellness deals with society, how else to say it except the way people live, how people accept them, norms in the society. Used to in the 50s, it was abnormal to get divorces. Today, it is normal to get divorces. So you really got to take that into consideration. Psychological wellness. Psychological wellness deals with how you adapt, how your brain works. These two tie together very well. They deal with everything that has to do with keeping your mental stability. So now that we look at the the psychological wellness, we have to think about how your brain's affected when you encounter something like a divorce or death in the family. When you have misfunctions in your psychological wellness, you tend to overthink things, or you have the tendency to attack others, or you have the tendency to cower down to others because you feel weak or you feel like you're being threatened. It's much like an animal acts when it's being threatened. So, when we're looking at social wellness, psychological wellness, when it relates to divorce and how that relates to suicide rates, it's very interesting. 39% of men who have had a divorce are more likely to commit suicide. They also have risk in cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and also in adapting to social wellness. It's hard. It's very hard. So today I brought a friend. His name is Matt Hill. He's going to teach us what it's like to, nice to meet you. What it's like to experience some of this. He has family who's been through this. So let me ask, you've experienced this firsthand, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had lots. I think everybody has. I think everybody has had.
Well, no doubt. Yeah.
Family members get divorced or been divorced themselves, or their parents have been, etc.
Both of my sisters are results of divorce.
Yeah, and I think everyone's seen it, and it's a great deal of depression, comes from this, from any party involved, but especially the husband and wife getting in the divorce.
So how do you think the husband's affected by it?
Well, you see it. It depends on the individual, I think, but you see, oftentimes what you'll see is the man's sense of positive identity comes from being a good father.
And where does that positive identity come from? I mean, I think that's what people want to know is how it came along. Was it more of a psychological, like it's built in them, or was it social?
I think that there's quite a bit of overlap between society and the individual's psychology. But I mean, just think of it this way, okay? When you're growing up, okay, and you're learning right from wrong from your parents and your in school, and you kind of get this idea, what it is to be a good person. It's a abstract concept, but you put this together. Growing up, especially, and if you have a father, if you grew up with a father, you look to him, is he a good man?
Yeah,
I want to be like my dad.
But I think that was the situation in both of us. When I was growing up, my dad told me that one day I'm going to get married. I'm going to take care of my wife. It wasn't really built into us. It was told. Mm-hmm. It was told to us, and we've been told this forever. But Now here's the real question: is after this divorce, what truly happens in this? What's the outcomes of divorce? Is the man affected more? Is the woman affected more? Who's affected more?
I can't speak blanketly for all divorce, but I think something like 70% of divorce is initiated by the woman, which isn't to say anything bad about women or to disparage them, but you can see that this is a thing that does it does affect men.
Okay, so what does the man lose out of this divorce?
The man loses a sense of positive identity. He loses any sense of who he is or how he's a good person. The way that he feels about being a good person. It's just gone.
So, like physical items, what does he lose?
Physical items, well, he often will lose his situation, his home. He'll oftentimes have to downsize. Of course, the woman may have to downsize too. So it's and they have to, because usually they have to pay for 2 households now with the same amount of income. Maybe she gets a job now, but it's gonna be tough. It's this financial burden on both, but especially the man who's
if he was working solely before that.
Right. If you're working full time and you're paying for a family, and then you can just kind of scrape by with most jobs. You got your kids, you got all of your expenses, and then now you're gonna have to pay for 2 households. That's rough. If hopefully both parties are amicable and they can work a lot of this stuff out together. But if not, he's just gonna have to make it happen.
Oh yeah, of course. It's got to be like a joint thing for it to actually not affect you to the highest degree. But we can also say that since it isn't, it's not always that way. That could lead to suicide. If you're not able to pay the bills, if you're not able to pay the child support,
that's a great source of depression. Not being able to pay the bills.
And you're living the high life up here, and then you get knocked down to right below.
Mm-hmm.
That would be rough on you.
Yeah, it would be rough, because that's a lot. You might have been stressed out before. You might have had worries about money before, but now it's exacerbated. It's what it is, and I think that going back to your social wellness ideas, I think it would hurt your status. So now you're living in a cheaper place. Now you don't have you're single. Again, for I don't know how long you've been married, but for some people that's a shock.
Have to get back out in the dating world.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate your time, Matt. We'll see you another time. Okay, so here we have discussed the differences between social wellness and psychological wellness when it comes to suicide rates. We mainly focused on how divorce affects it, but this can be applied worldwide. The United States is a big deal because more people are getting divorced in the United States than anywhere else, because it's become more acceptable, I should say. But now, when we're talking about global suicide rates, we got to also think about how rough places to live. North Korea, it tears at people that have to live in North Korea. It really affects you. If you're not, what we should really look at is that there's a line that has to be drawn. And this line, there's a top line too. If you ever reach this bottom line right here, it's going to be rough for you to adapt. It's going to be rough for your brain unless you've been conditioned for this. And that's where we can talk about marriage. You've been conditioned to think that that's the right thing to do, and you've been knocked down to this bottom line when you may just be right below this top line still. So when we talk about how suicide rates happen global wide, we should think about how how people are attacked by their oppressors, or even by just society. So thank you for tuning in. Another time.